Welcome back to Nick Lenz's Comic Corner Classics, Lesson Known Classics. This is episode number 1807 and Doubleshot number 1701. This is discussing one big epic collection and a series of issues from the same series. Alright, first up is the epic collection. We have Avengers West Coast Epic Collection Volume 2. Lost in Space Time, collecting issues of West Coast Avengers, Volume 2, issues 8 through 24, the first annual and annual 15. Let me talk about the two annuals first. Annual 15, and the reason why Annual 15 for Avengers is here is because it's part one of a two-part story, where basically it's the two teams fighting against each other for two big annuals. It's really good, and they end it with these two? Not necessarily. The annual they come basically after issue 13. Yeah, it's right after issue 13. They basically include this. Issue 8 we have the West Coast Avengers take on the Rangers in their first appearance. This issue from Incredible Hulk, I think it was like 287, where. Yeah, basically, of course, they're here working with the Thing, who basically is a solo act at this point. That's why his outfit doesn't have the F on it, because this is when he was a solo hero. And they're fighting against the Rangers, which are comprised of Shooting Star, the Phantom Rider, the Texas Tornado, and Red Wolf. Yep, that is the name of this group, and that's who's part of it. Though this is not the original. This is mostly the original lineup per se, but they had to kick out one person, Armadillo, because, mainly the reason why they had to kick him out for was because he got drunk and decided to grope Shooting Star. Yep, that's the reason why he kicked out, because he touched her. Yeah, so he was kicked off the team. Interesting that they bring in the Rangers. Yes. Though Shooting Star in the book is not the actual Shooting Star. Yeah, it's only like about 4 or 5 people, which is quite interesting. Okay, we sold 260. Remember the whole creation of Bill Mantlo and Sal Buscema. Yeah, how they basically came about was basically the same way the Avengers did. Hulk goes on rampage to stop them. Like in the Avengers issue, they try and contact Fantastic Four, proves his innocence. This was kind of the same thing, except that the Avengers contacted the Rangers, which is basically the formation of the group. Yeah. And they take him on here. And Flamer was apparently part of the group. This was actually also part of the Alpha Flight. They come back home. By the way, Wonder Man himself, for some reason in this period of time, his hair was his color for some reason. Yeah, don't know why, but then of course you have Hawkeye and Mockingbird just play fighting, making out. Yeah, Wonder Man being a bunch of bad guys, and the Rangers show up. Yep, and they basically show up, and of course they work together. Yeah, and of course they have fighting her. And then of course we have issue 9, we have Return of Master Piedmon, which is one they basically have this demon who basically is supposed to Shooting Star, and they're looking for her. And the Texas Rangers themselves, then of course she disappears because he has a piece, this demon's got a piece of his soul, so. And of course he's like, and we get to hear his backstory, where he made a deal with Mephisto. Yes, seriously. They made a deal with Mephisto. Yep. That's pretty much Master Paimon's backstory. And great, though, they actually go after this and find Shooting Star. Yeah, very interesting couple set of issues. Yeah, then we have them take on these Griffin. Okay. Oh yeah, there's a funny scene here. By the way, the issue is written by Steve Eckhart and artwork by Al Moon. We have Mockingbird. They have basically the thing he's so cheerful. He's got two beautiful women basically hang off, and one of who is married. Yeah, of course he's daydreaming about it. Yeah. So then goes off on his own, goes back to the Fantastic Four, I think. Yeah, and then of course they fight this and they fight the Griffin. Yes, a Griffin. Mm-hmm. Yes. Who was the guy who first fought the Beast? Yes, he fought the Beast back in the 70s. Yep. I mean, prior to this book, his last appearance was in Marvel Team Up number 78, released in 1978. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, also previously been Champions. But yeah, Griffin himself, very weird character. My only guess is the reason why Steve Vickar brought him in because he created him. Yeah, it created him a beast story of all things. Yes. Well, here's this. Here's the thing. Prior to him appearing in this book, like Amazing Fantasy 15, it was Martin 38, then Champion 7. Let's see if I can find it here. Because the guy has pretty much been sporadic over the years. Like, after those two issues of The Amazing Avengers and Champions 38, he appears for 4 straight issues of Champions. Then he appears in Martin 78, and then he appears in Champions 10, which came out roughly 8 years after his previous appearance. Yep, the issue 10 is also noteworthy for Ben Grimm leaving the team after he was not on the team very long. He also debuted this guy called Headlock. Yes, Headlock. He, very minor villain per se. I mean, he mostly, after this issue, he later appeared pages of Alpha Flight, which was 4 years later. They brought him back for that for a small handful of issues, and they had him part of Thunderbolts. Issues 55, and the last period issue 65, and that was the last he was ever seen. Yeah. So his last appearance was back in 2002. Yep. As for Griffin himself, he still occasionally appears. He's not that big of a villain per se. He's more like a C-list villain. Mm-hmm. And you might be asking, what was his most recent appearance to date? MODOK Head Games number 2. No series with MODOK Head Games. It came like a year ago. That was his last appearance to date. Mm-hmm. Yep. And then we have the West Coast Avengers fight group called the Regiment. Yep. Yeah, and of course, Mockingbird is mad at S.H.I.E.L.D. This seems like it very much a stainless issue. Of course, will continue working from S.H.I.E.L.D. There is a bit later on that's kind of odd to say at least, but I'll get to that. Mm-hmm. And then we have the issue 12 where they fight, or basically 12 do something really weird. Yeah, let's have Wonder Man put on a brand new costume. This lasts for about a year. Okay, and Wonder Man's like, I guess Mockingbird's like, okay, give me a moment. And the all-new Mockingbird. Yep, Mockingbird changed their attire. Which is basically was our standard attire for pretty much the rest of this series. Yeah. And from what I can tell anyways, Mockingbird herself, like, if you're curious though, is she back to wearing pants nowadays, despite the fact she stopped wearing pants? With this brand new look for her? Anyone as of currently, does she wear pants anymore? Yes, apparently she's no longer having exposed any skin. She's basically fully covered. Yeah. That was something they did when she was resurrected. When they brought her back because of Secret Invasion. Yeah. Where they pretty much had her all covered up head to toe with this bodysuit. And there's stuff in here related to Tigra, where she's been out of control. And I hang out with, well, of all people, Hank Pym, it's implied these two started a romance. It doesn't go much anywhere until, like, fairly recently. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and also we have this group of people who pop up in this issue here. No, it's Trouble. Trouble, Trouble, Trouble. Yes. A group that appeared for 2 issues. Appeared in this issue and the following issue. And that was it. It was made up of Hellfire, Quantum, and Zaz. Zaz is a Hulk villain. Yeah, he's a creature made of electricity. And he's also a Steve Eckhart character. Eckhart loves using characters he creates. Yeah, there's also a character named Quantum, a character who speaks barely English in the book. Yes, and basically issue 12 was his debut appearance. It's interesting, though, that Zaz was the only one who actually was not a creation of Steve Eckhart in here. Actually, I think he was. Well, Zaz himself, prior to this issue, he last appeared just a few years prior in the pages of Incredible Hulk. And you might be asking, did Zaz, was he a creation of Steve Eckhart? Yep. Yeah, like I said before with other characters, Eckhart just like using characters he created for West Coast Avengers. I guess I figured, oh, why not? And they have this woman named, what is her name? I think it's Hellfire, I think her name is. Yeah. Where she apparently gets to drain people's age-ish. Yeah. And here's the thing about her. She didn't appear very much. After this issue and the following one, her next appearance wasn't until Quasar number 4, 3 years later. Yes, period. That issue 10. And then she appeared for 2 appearances, one I'll talk about soon. Captain America number 10 and West Coast Avengers number 7. And that was it for her. Yeah, 5 appearances for this character. Yeah. And Trouble basically was formed by Graviton. Yes, Graviton, which I believe he's a Iron Man villain, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, I believe he was. Actually, he's just an old school. Now, he's actually one character who's actually not a creation of Eckhart. Yeah, Eckhart, like, you can see that when he writes this book. It's like, oh, let's have me basically throw, like, every character. And basically, every issue 13 fight Graviton. The Avengers, anyways. They take him on, of course, it's like a 2-parter. And you have basically Graviton take a Tigra hostage, where he forces, basically, by chaining her like a slave, and she forces her to kiss him. And I'm like, you're like, ugh, what do you? And mostly put later on, we do explore a little bit of Tigra's backstory. Mm-hmm. She turns back to human, one of the rare times she does. Mm-hmm. Yeah, whenever Tigra is back to human form, it is very rare she does. Yep. And after that 2-part annual, which I discussed here, which also involves Future Force. Mm-hmm. Really good, the fact that we actually had 15 annual Avengers leading to the first ever annual for Avengers West Coast. First of 8. Yes, 8 annuals. Yeah, both were like giant-sized issues. Excuse me. And I have to get past the annuals themselves, and we finally get back to action. Also, we have a cover that looks like this. Yeah, from what I could tell for various covers that came out during the same month, this issue, yeah, this very similar thing. You just have a close on someone's face plus various other characters. Yeah, then we have issue. This is issue 14. We kind of explore stuff with Tigra. Yes, Tigra. Mm-hmm. We also return of Hellcat and her husband at the time, her then husband, son of Satan, who dressed in this silly attire. Yes, it's silly. And you might be asking, did Echoheart create Son of Satan? You might ask. Because it seems like every character that shows up in this book typically is a creation of Echoheart. Son of Satan? Nope. Gary Frederick. What about Hellcat? Patsy Walker? No. She wasn't. Well, he was. She wasn't anyways. But I believe he's the one who gave her the identity of Hellcat. Yes. He's the one who gave her the identity of Hellcat. So, it makes perfect sense for her to show up here. Though, this does lead into the Lost in Space-Time stuff. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and basically over the course of this issue and the following issue, we just basically supposed up with Tigra and Master Piedmon. Really good set of issues here. Yeah, and then we have issue 15 where we kind of settle the score with Tigra and Hellcat over the whole costume thing. Yeah, then we have not exactly settled yet, but continue here for the next few. It's basically like a 4-parter in a way for the series. This whole thing with Tigra. Mm-hmm. You were thinking, okay, when do you get to the space-time stuff? Well, we're going to get to that. Don't worry. If I just find these one-shot villains who I don't think appear again. And then we have this guy named Domus, who as they reference, get this. They reference, hey, your uniform looks like Lucifer's. He's like, Lucifer was my predecessor. Yes, Lucifer, who's an alien. Yes, seriously. Lucifer, the man responsible for taking away Xavier's ability to use his freaking legs, is in fact an alien. And this guy, Domus, like appearing in this very issue here, his last appearance was back in X-Men number 21 back in 1966. His next appearance would not be for 21 years. Oh yes, 21 years. And you're thinking, really? Yeah. And he refers to Lucifer as his predecessor because same outfit. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, by the way, for Desrose who appeared in this issue, yeah, they appeared. This was, like I said, this was their sole appearance. The only appearance they made was in what was basically in a backup story. Their next actual appearance was in a backup story for Marvel Tales 262, and that was it for them. Yeah, seriously. Yeah. And all characters, with the exception of Domus, creations they go hard. I have to keep saying that. Then they get caught on a time machine. Yes, this is how Marvel did time travel. Hop on this board, you go to the past. You have Hangman trying to contemplate suicide here. And then Firebird shows up. You're like, what? And then issue 18, finally it happens. Where you have the Avengers in the West. Yeehaw! Where they team up with Two Gun Kid and Rawhide Kid. Now you're probably thinking, who the heck are these two guys? And are they relevant? Okay, Two Gun Kid and Rawhide Kid are basically Marvel's Western superheroes. Like, what do you think of comic book Western superheroes? What's the... Okay, someone's at the door. Who's the number one person who comes to mind when it comes to Western superheroes? Jonah Hex from DC Comics. He's the first person people think of because of how much media he's been in. These two, meanwhile, have never appeared in the comics before. Rawhide Kid, a cowboy who in 2002 they reckoned to be a gay cowboy for reasons. Two Gun Kid basically is a gunslinger who actually came to present day and was made an honorary Avenger. He loved the past, but he loved the present, but he needed to go back to the past because it doesn't belong to him. But he did leave long enough, basically, to see the formation of the Avengers. Yeah, that's what he did with the character. That's what they did with him. Yeah, it's great, though. And plus, here's something really cool about this. They actually reference the last time they met up with these two. Oh, yeah. We also have Lincoln Slade. Oh, boy, this guy. Yeah, he first appeared back in Western Gunfighters number 6. He came, the Ghostwriter, basically, Defense Writer. Issue 7. Like, he was okay at the start. And then he became controversial. Why, you might ask? Because during this story arc, he basically has Mockingbird ride his horse. And then he proceeds to drug her. And then rape her. Yes. One of the influence, basically, she's like, oh yeah, this is so good being with a man like this. Despite the fact that this is doing that without her consent. So basically, Phantom Rider raped her. Because he wanted her. So when she got out of this thing, she basically proceeded to shove this guy off a cliff. A literal cliff, killing him and claiming that he died of accident. He was died accidentally. But yeah, that's now he died in issue 23, 5 issues after the story arc wrapped up, which is pretty much like the finale. And these are your villains. This one. You guys have La Esperada, aka Firebird. Well, here's the villains: Iron Mask, a Kid Cult villain. Hurricane. Two Gun Kid. Old West Red Raven. Rawhide Kid villain. Rattler. Rawhide Kid. You also have Dr. Danger. Kid Cult Outlaw. Fat Man. Kid Cult Outlaw. Living Totem, who's an alien. Rawhide Kid. Yeah. Those characters just named, you're probably thinking, what the heck? Yes. So basically, Hawkeye, I saw him back in Avengers 142 back in 1995. That was the last time we saw him. But yeah, you were thinking, why the heck name all the Western characters? Well, because they're Western characters, obviously. Yeah, this, of course, is a really good story. I love this story arc, this time travel stuff. But man, the only thing that really is bad about the storyline is Phantom Rider. They do, of course, go back to present day by issue 23, which this story arc here indirectly leads to Mockingbird Hawkeye filing for divorce. Yep. Yeah. Though issue 21, we actually have Moon Knight join the roster. He was part of the roster very briefly until he got expelled in his own solo book. Yeah, by issue 23, they wrap up this time travel story arc. Which this story arc is so fun. And then for the remainder of the trade, basically, it's like all back in present day. Yeah, and the way they get back to present day, thanks to Doctor Strange and the Fantastic Four, and also indirectly from Firebird itself, the characters got back to present day. Which, here it is, the cover. Yeah, this is what Mockingbird does him. Shoves him off a freaking cliff. Basically, she murdered this guy. Yeah, all because he drugged her and raped her. Yeah, they kind of come back in issue 23. Go back to present day, battle Dormus, which they beat him. He has seemed somewhat after this one. And that's it. That's literally the trade itself. Yeah, it wraps up at issue 24. Yeah, great issues. I'm going to give these set of issues I'm going to give this trade a 9.5 out of 10. It's excellent set of issues. All right, next up it is. We're going to talk about the individual issues. First up, it's Avengers West Coast, issues 76 to 79. This is a four-part. We have the West Coast Avengers, which at this point include U.S. Agent and the Julia Carpenter Spider-Woman, where they basically fight in night shift. It's a four-part where they fight the night shift for these four issues here. Yep. Oh, yeah. Yeah, and of course, moving out of the era of Steve Eckhart moving to present day. Well, the storyline is called Infamous Monsters of Hollywood. Yep. Yeah. By the way, I had this character named Jason Rollin, who becomes in this issue here. He becomes a character known as the Hangman. He made his first appearance back in 1970 in the issue of Tower of Shadows. Yeah. A horror character who, after that first appearance, popped up here. Yeah. First appearance, 1970. Reappears again 21 years later. And the guy has appeared sporadically even afterwards. The guy's made 11 appearances in 40 years. Like he appears in Stork here, the 7th annual, the final few issues of this volume, when Dan Thomas was running it. And then he returns for X Factor, and that's been it for the character. Yep. But this Stork here also has some stuff going on with Julia Carpenter, where she basically is dealing with her estranged husband with her daughter. But it's an excellent story arc. Now moving on to issue 83, we have the West Coast Avengers taking on a character known as the Hyena for a standalone issue. Yep. It is literally a standalone issue. I believe 100, was that the final issue basically they wrote together? Let me check. Yeah, that was the last one. Because 101 was written by somebody else. Actually, no. Yeah, he did write that one. Yep, he did. Very odd sound issue, mostly involving the Human Torch. That's mostly what this issue was, just dealing with. And then we have, apparently in issue 84, we have a guest appearance by Spider-Man. Yep, Spider-Man. By the way, in issue 83, that's when Julia's estranged husband is murdered. Yep. Yeah, they kill off her estranged husband, who is the father of her daughter, Rachel. I actually think he dies in this very issue. His name is Larry Carpenter, and he died in issue 86. Now, now this basically begins sort of a story arc with her. It's an absolutely really good story arc here. They also kill off the character Michael Gavin, who appeared as a candidate. Yeah, they killed a politician and Larry Carpenter. Not really sure why they killed off the character for. The character didn't really appear very much at all. No, not really. I mean, his first appearance was back in Iron Man 214, and then he dies like 5 years later. The guy appeared 6 times in 5 years. Like, after the Iron Man issue, he appeared for one issue, Peter Parker, second Spider-Man. He appeared in issue 78 of Avengers West Coast in these 3 issues, and that was it for the character. And you're thinking, really? And this is the guy who is the father of Rachel Carpenter. Yep. Yeah, that after her father was murdered in issue 86, she became basically she lived in the West Coast. She lived in the Avengers compound for some of the series. In issue 92, she was dropped for the series. Yeah, it's like she joins issue 90. She's there to she like for like she's there for first shows up in issue 75 in the series. Yep. And then she appears in 78, appears from 84 to 90. She skips 87. Pops again for 92, and then she's not seen again until Force Work starts up. And she's there sporadically. Her last appearance to date was an issue of Scarlet Spider. Yeah, Scarlet Spider. That was the last time she appeared. That was like 9 years ago. Yep. But the whole thing with the West Coast, this whole thing with the Spider Woman saga, this score was really good. Mm-hmm. As for in the case of, excuse me, and then we have a two-parter where you have a guest appearance by Wolverine of all people. Yes, Wolverine. And yeah, these issues feel a bit odd to say the least. Yes, they feel very odd. But that's Avengers West Coast for you. Mm-hmm. And the last issue I'm going to talk about here is issue 88, which is basically, yeah. Now, who are these random people that are fighting for this two-parter? Well, you really want to know? The known as the Bagarti, who appeared just for these two issues. And that is it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. 2 issues, and that's it for the characters. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Very weak set of issues, per se, to end that. But don't worry, we're not done yet. We're next going to talk about the 5th annual. We'll talk about annuals 5 through 7 to cap it off with. A number 5, part of that Terminus Factor crossover. Yeah, one of those, it does those crossovers. You have the Avengers taking on, well, basically these are your parts. This is actually is part 4 of the story. Part 1 is in Captain America number 9. 2 is in Iron Man number 11. 3 is in Thor annual number 15. 4 is this book. And 19 is the finale for this thing. Which also serves as the finale for Axe Vengeance for some reason. Don't know why. So, you have the Human Torch basically taking on Terminus. Yeah, the Terminus Factor is a really good story. I do recommend checking it out. But that was the main story. But the backup story is something is basically, well, the first one is basically Thanks for Nothing. And this is now the first story in here. Excuse me. Now, when Times Collide, that's done by Roy Thomas. He does the opening story in this issue. Dwayne McDuffie, yeah, the late Dwayne McDuffie does the 3rd story in the book. Yeah, it's a multi-story book. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the Thanks for Nothing is basically just an issue for Firebird. Yep. It's a Firebird story involving these weird characters. Don't you miss it? It's basically just a team just take on this one-shot character and that's it. Then we have Honey, I Shrunk the Hypersonic Anti-Proton Cannon. Yeah. They even tell us to play Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. Yeah, it's a very hilarious issue. Now moving on to number 6. Subterranean Wars. Yeah, evolving up with, of all people, Ballman. Yeah. This, of course, the opening story, like in the case of the previous annual, done by Roy Dan Thomas. Yep. That's the main thing with the submarine chain stuff, which is quite interesting. I like it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the second story is his West Side Story, also by Roy Thomas. Yep, I think he does all the stories in this book. There's a story here for Living Lightning. Yep. Yeah. Because I think that all the stories in this annual were done by Roy Thomas. Let's see. West Side Story, Roy Thomas. Yeah, he does all the ones for this one. For annual number 7, which I've kind of thought part of the story already, I think it was collected in the Iron Man one. Yes. Now, Locate, the opening story, is done by Roy Thomas. Scotty and Scarlet, also Roy Thomas. Mile High Mayhem, Roy Thomas. Yeah, he does pretty much all the stories in here. They saw Armor City, which is a crossover between the first annual of Darkhawk and Iron Man and this one too. Mm-hmm. And if you're curious still how many annuals Darkhawk published, it published 3. Yep, 3. And I've kind of discussed already, they saw Armor City already, so I'm going to move on for that. I'm going to first talk about A Study in Scarlet. Yep, it's a Scarlet Witch story, which I think this was collected in the Avengers Scarlet Witch trade. Let me take a look at that, just to be sure. Because I believe this story was collected there because it's a Scarlet Witch story. Oh, I thought it was. Yeah, I thought it was collected. I guess it wasn't. I wouldn't think that would have been an excellent place to put it, but nope. They didn't collect it for some reason. I could have sworn they did. Maybe I was wrong. Yeah. I mean, it would have been a perfect place to put it, but not really being there, so. Yeah, it's just a Scarlet Witch story. Let's start taking on Paimon, which does tie into stuff happening in the main book. Mm-hmm. Good story. 10 Little Villains. Yeah, Roy Thomas. Basically, a lot of dialogue. This one. Yeah, it's a very. Yeah, these backup stories can be very oddball to say the least, but thoroughly enjoyable. Yep, and that's gonna be pretty much it for this particular video. Yeah, in the case of the main issues themselves, 76, 79. I give this 4-parter a 9 out of 10. 86, 83, 88. 83 to 86, great 4 issues. I give these ones a 9. 87, 88, I give these 2 a 7 because it's just a very okay 2-parter. Despite featuring really good artwork, it's not really high about before I deal with Ultron the very next issue. Yep. Oh, in the case of Avengers Coast right now, because I read most of the series right now, guess how much is left? Just 2 trades left to go for West Coast, and that's it for the second volume. The first ongoing volume for the series. Also to go is the third epic collection, and Avengers X-Men Blood Ties, and that's it. Yep, that's pretty much it when it comes to the first ongoing volume for West Coast. The one that published a couple years ago with Kelly Thompson, I reviewed that at some point. The first trade for that one, I've reviewed the second trade for that one already. Yep, this one's going along, so I'll rest my voice here. Okay, so tune to the next video, which is going to be Kaguya-sama Love is War. Okay, next video. Bye.